Energy Project.
Yep.
We got a very special guest today, perhaps the most special guest we'll ever have.
Right.
Certainly the most special guest we'll ever have. We said one clap, not multiple claps. It's Mother's Day weekend. We are here with our very own mother, Kierstin DeCicco. Mama, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the Positive Energy Project on your 28th wedding anniversary.
How about that?
Wow.
We normally drink super
Cheers.
coffee on these
Cheers.
things. Instead, we got some champagne.
Cheers to Big Daddy and
Cheers.
I.
Noteworthy that
Happy
Jordan
anniversary.
is sober over there
Happy
drinking
anniversary,
kombucha.
Yeah.
If you guys didn't catch
Happy
that,
Mother's Day too.
today is Saturday, May 9th. It is Kier's 28th anniversary with our dad, Big Jim. He's not on this episode because this is her show. Tomorrow is Mother's Day. That is also why this is her show. And we talk about positive energy. We interview a lot of celebrities, a lot of athletes, a lot of business people, entrepreneurs. Kier is not really any of those folks, but in our lives, she is the most important person. Raising a
And
family.
all of those things. And
All of those things.
yeah.
That's absolutely right. So today we're going to talk about positive energy. A lot of the similarities in raising our family, building our family. Three sons is all Kier had, and how that got us ready to start our business. So without further ado, let me give a little background on this amazing woman that we call our mom. Standing at 5'1" 3/4, maybe
I'm
5'3".
5'3".
5'3", 5'2" 3/4?
5'3".
Okay, 5'3". We'll give her
Solid.
5'3". 5'3" in the rule book or on the roster.
And your program.
In your program, 102, maybe 105 pounds when she's wet. Kier was a two-sport athlete at the University of New Hampshire. Not only a two-sport athlete, a two-time All-American in soccer and in lacrosse. MVP of the Final Four in lacrosse. That's crazy. Badass. We're bragging. We're bragging about our mom. But these are all important pieces to who she is as an individual, the influences that we had on our lives growing up. So go ahead, Jake. What do you got?
Within 18 months, when she was the MVP of the Final Four, Jim was born. I think that is what starts off this story.
Well, not only that. So within 18 months of her,
She's trying to
that's a good thing. It was a celebration. So within 18 months of Kier being MVP of the lacrosse Final Four, she got married to our dad, Big Jim, who played football at New Hampshire. And 5 months later, she had me. As we all know, it takes 9 months to make a baby.
Oh, stop.
I am the reason that this family is together.
All right, not sure how that made it to Jim. And then from there, the crazier part is less than a calendar year. You were 24 at the time. Less than a calendar year later, you have me. We joined the party. And then less than a year and a half later, Jordan joins the party. And you are now newly 26 years old. And you have a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3-year-old, I guess.
It sounds like I never took sex ed. Right? Like, that's crazy. That sounds horrible. Don't do that.
You were married in a Catholic church, so that has something to do with before all that. So.
That doesn't sound so good.
All right, so no. Getting into all this, though. You quickly went from college athlete superstar to mother of 3 by the time you were 25 years old, which is amazing. But I would say that you probably weren't ready. You know, it's not like people coached you up. You probably didn't prepare you. And people always ask us, like, I'm making a long stretch here, but people always ask us, like, how'd you guys do this? How'd you know how to start your company? The answer is we didn't. We sort of just learned on the go. So, like, when you were 25, you had 3 kids, 3 boys. What did you do? How did you know how to raise us?
I had no idea, and I just we made it up. Dad and I made it up as we went along. The whole fake it till you make it. We surrounded ourselves with great people because we both come from really good families. My sister-in-law, Linda Quaz, was well ahead of me with her. She had probably 4 kids out of her 6 at that time. So I had a role model. No, Lizzie wasn't born yet. Laura and Lizzie were not born. So
Okay,
I had a role model there. I had just good people. So you kind of, just like my college coach, Marge Anderson, you copy them. You watch them and you imitate them. And you take all the good, kind of like, water those good seeds. You leave out the bad and you just do your best every day. I had youth on my side. So that's huge.
Energy.
You still got youth on your side. Today, you sit here at 50 years old.
On the nose.
On the nose, 50 looking good, looking younger and healthier every single day. How did sports prepare you to raise a family?
I think the discipline that it takes. You know, I remember actually when I had you, Jimmy, I don't even know if I was pregnant with you, I was feeding you the cereal. And I thought, I got to do this every day, like for the rest of like my days. It was doing it once was exhausting, and it like hit me that I had to actually do it. So you look inside and you find that discipline and strength, inner strength, and you just go. Just put your head down and go.
About that.
So discipline as an athlete though, like as an athlete, I remember doing shit that I didn't want to do ever, right? Like 6 a.m. trudging through snow to get to a weight room only to work out until you throw up. Is that the type of discipline? Like those lessons in sports got you ready to do the hard stuff that you didn't want to do, but you had to do it.
Absolutely. You kind of do what you have to do. That's pretty simple and basic. But I think that being an athlete has its advantages. So, you know, I was lucky to be born. I knew at a young age that I was good at dodgeball and kickball. So I leveraged the shit out of that, right? And just ran with that and then applied it to throughout my life, and had fun with it.
So you knew in elementary school that you were a good athlete and you used it as a means to an end. Is that what you're saying? Like you used sports to get a degree and build a life and a career and a family and all of this?
Yeah, and have fun and selfishly get attention. You know, it was a little ego driven. When you find out that you're good at something, you just run down that path. So build on your strengths. That's what that is.
Feels good to score goals. That's right.
Yes.
That's right. So fast forward to your career. Raising us, you were, I don't even know what your role was at the YMCA. Athletic director?
I was a health and fitness director, technically.
Health and fitness director at the YMCA
awesome.
of Kingston and Ulster County for 10 years. And so Jake Jordan and I grew up at the Y. We lived and breathed sports our whole lives. Every sport, if it had a ball, if it bounced, if you could win, if you could score, we were playing it. Partially because of her career. Today, though, you are a manager of sales reps for a big pharmaceutical company. You've been in pharma for 10 years, 10 plus years?
15.
15 years, leading a team. And Jake Jordan and I, like the biggest thing for us, the reason that Super Coffee is still in business and has been successful so far is the people and the people on the team. And I think our backgrounds in sports have allowed us to manage our teammates, our people, find the right people, like you said, surround yourself with good people. How have sports not only affected raising us, but also translated into your leading and managing a team, keeping them motivated and excited to go sell, hit goals, and be great?
That was probably a direct correlation that I'm not aware of until this moment. But I always played team sports. I never played individual sports. Not that they're not awesome too. So it was easy for me to see how important the defense, the offense, the center field, all of it was. If we were going to win or make it to the Final Four and lose, sadly, but if we were going to get there, it was going to be everybody working together. And I learned that lesson very young, very, very young. I had great coaches along the way. I have had great coaches in my career. So again, good role models. And you just suck all that good stuff in and run with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're all watching Michael Jordan's The Last Dance right now, and I think the coolest thing about that is watching the greatest individual athlete of all time to walk this planet. Like the story that they tell in that is MJ realizing, holy shit, I can go out and be the best player in the NBA, but I can't beat the NBA as Michael Jordan. And that's really where who's the coach that came in? Phil Jackson came in and really was the one that taught him that. And just to hear you touch on it, right? Like that's.
You guys met Phil Jackson at the YMCA one day. Do you remember?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Signed the basketball. I think we have it still.
So if you're watching The Last Dance on episode 5 or 6, you saw a guy, Charlie Rosen. Charlie Rosen came on. Charlie Rosen was the head women's basketball coach at New Paltz College, right near Kingston, where we grew up. Charlie would go to the YMCA, where my mom worked, every single day, play basketball, ride the bike. Jordan immediately recognized him when he came on the documentary. Charlie is best friends with Phil Jackson, so occasionally Phil Jackson would come in. The story goes you were shooting hoops with Phil.
Yep.
Yeah, we have an autographed basketball from that.
Yes, you do.
And that is awesome.
Yeah, good guy.
Good guy.
Great guy.
Uncle Phil.
Uncle Phil.
All right.
Jordan,
Let's get back on track. Yeah, let's get back on track.
Kick it down to the youngest brother. That man
That's where I
hasn't
was
said a
going.
word down there.
That's where I was going.
Well, you said about 95% of the words. I think that nobody's really got to talk too much. So I want to, again, throw it to you, Mama, but we talked about your competitive spirit, our competitive spirit growing up, the YMCA being kind of the place where all that went down. But I think the most impressive thing about you as a mother and a leader that's rubbed off on us that is definitely our biggest trait, because everybody's competitive, right? That comes from ego too. You want to win, you want to be great, but to be compassionate too, to be competitive and compassionate. That's something that we learned not until we started the company, unfortunately. I can talk for myself, is that I was a point guard, but again, I cared about my stat line more than I should have. When I started the company, probably cared more about the product and the fact that I was doing something that revolved around me. And until we started building our team, we didn't feel that compassion, that level of compassion. So can you talk about that too? Like, it was probably so hard for you raising the three of us, but all I remember growing up is how compassionate you were for us.
Aww,
And
that's
how that
so
led into your leadership though, as we see you now as a leader, and it really rubs off on your team now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you guys know it's my greatest value. It's the most important thing. There's not much more important than people and kindness and love and goodness. So I'm kind of all about that. And it may be selfish a little bit because it feels really good to give and to be kind. It always has, and that's a good thing. I think that most people have more than they need, right? Generally speaking. And so you want to share and you want to give back. I think it's pretty innate, and we just kind of got to stay in touch with it.
Do you think that you've learned it over time? Is it something that happened in the Capola household growing up? Like, where does it come from? Because I think that's like your superpower, is your kindness.
Aww.
Honestly, like, it's something that
I don't think of me that way, so thank you. That's nice to hear. It's really nice to hear.
But where do you think it comes from, honestly? Like,
I think honestly, my dad, who wasn't the greatest dad on earth, sorry, Dad.
What's up, Papa?
Papa.
No shout,
It's
Papa's
not
watching
Father's
this.
Day. It's not Father's Day. Really had a kind heart. My dad really had a kind heart. He did a lot of stuff. Very compassionate.
man of the people. He was a councilman, state senator.
Yeah. My sister, who was my role model my whole little life, is to this day the kindest, most compassionate, generous person we know. I know. So yeah, that was part of my soul.
I think that's George pointed out a great balance, competitive and compassionate. And one thing we say at Super Coffee, you hear this every single day, is work hard and be nice to people. And you can't have one without the other, right? If you work hard and you're an asshole, we don't want you on this team.
If you're going to be great, if you're really going to take it to the next level, you can be a really great competitor, but you're only going to be an individual contributor if you're just a really great competitor. But if you're compassionate, you want to put your teammates first, you want to be that great leader, then yes, you need both.
Right, totally. So if you work hard and nice to people, we don't, or if you're not nice to people, we don't want you. But if you're nice to people and you don't work hard, you might be nice to be around, but you're not productive. We don't want you on the team either. So you need to be both, work hard and nice. And for us, the crazy thing is, like, as if 3 boys weren't enough, Dad might as well have been your 4th son. You know, he was getting into trouble with us more than he was being an adult. But like, that was our 4th brother. And so my point
We were young.
My point is it was a full household just with us, and then every single weekend we had dozens of friends over, right? And friends who had far less than us in terms of family support, money, financial needs. I mean, you fed an army.
Well, I mean, I was making like $12 an hour, so we didn't have that much money.
Right,
Let me
but
make
there
that
was
very
people,
clear.
No, so my point is there was people who had less than what we had, and we didn't have much.
Yes. That was great. That's like the stuff we're all made of. Those were the best memories ever. I don't regret one single penny spent, one single vegetable chopped. I don't know. That's just the good stuff in life. So much goodness there.
Yeah, but you didn't have to. You know, you had to take care of the 3 of us. You had to take care of your husband. But why? So why, when there was kids on our teams and kids in our class that you let? I mean, we love them too, but like, you let them sleep at our house. You fed them every single meal.
I think that honestly, when you are strong and you have that inner strength, you want to share it. You want to share it, especially when you see, I mean, there are kids out there, and one who comes top of mind, obviously, Taniel, I love you. I'm going to send you this so you know that I love you on Mother's Day. They're great kids and just needed to be a part of it. Like, why not share the goodness and the stuff? We had some magic going on, right? So like, let's make it as big as possible.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I just want to tie it all the way back to, again, competitive and compassionate. But I think the leader of today, and this is from, Bill Gates said this best, but the leader of today is thinking about their team in that way, right? They're not thinking about, it used to be all individual. Like if you were a great leader, you were strong-willed, probably, you had to be a strong man, and you were just very competitive and a great individual contributor. But now
There's
the
strong
leader,
women from the beginning of time, so.
oh my gosh, of
Just gotta
course.
plug that.
No, of course. But I think that, again, the leader of today, though, is more compassionate than they are competitive. And I think that's what's rubbed off on us the
Yes.
most. So,
Well, it's like we're finally getting it right,
yeah.
right?
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, the result-oriented, blah, 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 hard-nosed, competitive, ultra, uber competitive is not nearly as important as that personal. It's just not. It doesn't. They go really well together, Jimmy, the kindness, work hard, and then they play off each other.
It's definitely that balance. And I think that it's almost what Jordan described too. People fight with, right? They still want that competitiveness to show up. And I think it is a fearfulness that people have, like, of participation awards and making everyone feel included and diversity and all of those things that people fight with. I think they think that competitiveness is being sacrificed to bring compassion to the table, and that's why. And it's just like a defense mechanism, right? Of seeing things change. But I think you're great proof that in the way that society's going, right, is that the compassion drives it, and it can fuel. Certainly, I think Jordan thinks this, and then we all do, is like compassion probably drives innovation more than competitiveness does, in a way. Open-mindedness, empathy, yeah. And I think going even a layer deeper, one thing that all the guests on this show have talked about in some capacity or another is this idea of like helping others really helps yourself at the end of the day, and not in like a self-serving way, but just circles all the way back. And Patrick Schwarzenegger was someone who came on the show and talked about how his well-roundedness, as he comes from his background, comes from seeing his family give and serve others first. I think that you were just such a great example of that for us. I don't really have a question there.
Well, I think that, everybody, no matter how much you have, how little you have, I think that's our greatest gift as human beings, is we all have the ability inside ourselves to give something back. And I think that's what it's all about. I don't have all the answers, but if I were to, die tomorrow, I'd say that's what it's all about. Loving people and sharing that love. Like, there's not much more than that.
I love that.
Yeah.
But so go ahead.
I was going to say, we're deep into a love fest here. Let's go back now, all the way back to we talked about using athletics, right? Jim really touched on that. You gave us the blueprint, using athletics to get to an education, create a better life. And then you did that successfully with Jimmy, and he graduated from Colgate, going to work on Wall Street. We were doing it down at Georgetown. Jordan was doing it up at Philadelphia University on a full scholarship. And then you get a call from your youngest son saying, I'm giving up my full scholarship and starting a company. That's talking about shaking the core, rattling the cage of how our family does things. What did you think when George told you, I'm starting a company?
Dropping out of school, giving up my life.
Yeah.
Giving up my
what you taught us to do. You're like going against the grain.
Yeah, I'll be totally honest. I mean, I didn't cry. Somebody said, you always say I cried. I really didn't
It's a good story.
cry. I kind of thought maybe he was on drugs. That went through my head.
Yeah.
Something.
The drug of caffeine.
And
Drug of purpose.
and then people say you allowed it. That was so awesome. I didn't allow anything. It was beyond.
Yeah, you didn't have a choice.
It was way bigger than me.
No choice.
This one is way bigger than a lot. So when there's that special magic going on, you just have to listen, believe, sit back and hope for the best. So it was a tough.
It's a curveball.
It was a huge curveball.
Yeah, but it's not hope for the best. It's control. You like once we were in, you were like, motherfuckers, let's find a way to make this work.
Yeah, definitely.
Not so much. I was still worried. I remember saying to you, Jimmy, I said, and I've never said this, I've always would support you guys to the day you die, like every mom I know. However, I was like, you guys got a year on my back. And then, Dad and I are all in. We are in. Dad and I talked about it like grown-ups finally. And we were like, you got a year. Do what you got to do. We'll be here however we can be. I will, buy you food for a year. And he slept on his couch. and because we were already paying for that couch, so it made sense. And you guys did the rest, right? I mean, you really, I mean, we just, at that point, I was praying more than I probably have ever prayed in my life. And I believed in you. I mean, I knew some goodness was going to happen. You weren't going to go out and be a bad person. I just didn't know it was going to be so good.
Well,
Am I allowed to say that?
Just getting started.
Yeah, just getting started. That's
It's not
awesome.
even halftime yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right.
I hope it's
Well, then
halftime.
I have a funny question because not even a funny question. I just want to get inside your head here because then Jordan drops out for a year after his freshman season, and the company's doing his thing. We meet your promise of a year in, doing well.
Mhm.
I graduate from Georgetown. We're chipping away. We said Jordan goes back to school
Oh yeah,
for his sophomore season.
unbelievable
That
they took you back.
they took him back, welcomed him with open arms, and we're in the stands again, right? And I think as two older brothers, you like are doing our favorite thing, watching Jordan play basketball.
Mhm.
Like that was awesome.
Mhm.
And then the Jordan gets the Peter Thiel Fellowship, gets awarded the Peter Thiel Fellowship with the opportunity now to drop out.
It's all conference that year too.
Yeah, all conference. He was all
Peter
conference.
Thiel, Peter.
But this is so
That
funny.
killed me.
Thank God for Peter.
No, that killed me.
It did kill. So that's what I wanted to touch on.
Real quick though, I do want to give a shout out to the Thiel Fellowship and to Peter. No, seriously, we haven't done this as a company.
Yeah.
We haven't recognized the Thiel Fellowship.
I did. Well, we did
as a
with
company
your
though.
birthday
We really
party,
haven't
with
though.
your graduation.
Yeah, but I just want to say that what the Thiel Fellowship has done is been amazing for a lot of entrepreneurs, not just us, but directly in our case, you can see why the Thiel Fellowship exists. He gets a lot of shit for that, and so does the fellowship. People disagree with him. Successful people disagree with him. I know we have mentors who disagree with it, and it has propelled us to the next stage.
Well, let me just say the reason I don't disagree with him at this point, and not because it's turning out well, but it's, you said it best. Jordan said to me when he got that, he's like, Mom, life is not always linear. Just stay with us. And it's true, it's a year or 2 years, right? It's not, Peter Thiel isn't saying, give me your right arm, maybe some blood, but not your right arm.
Let's bring it back.
All right. So back to the question though, because apprehension in your voice today, after hindsight 2020, it all worked out. Jordan dropped out the first time on a whim, on an idea, on a dream. And then after coming back all conference, and it just shows where your mind was at. But I remember we had a conversation, and so Jordan gets the Thiel Fellowship. The company's doing great. Jordan missed working at the company every day. It's truly why he came
I was
back.
still working at it.
No, but I mean, you missed being able to be all in.
Totally.
And Mom is on the phone, and she's like, is this really happening again? Is it really happening again? And I said, well, Mom, he's got the Thiel Fellowship with some financial backing this time and a company to come back to. And you were in denial again of him dropping out. So what was going on
Well,
there?
I think that as parents, one thing you want to do is get your kids a 4-year degree in the United States of America, right? Like that's just something you fundamentally think is good. And I always thought raising you guys, once I do that, I can kind of take a breath, and just slow it
Totally.
down. And then it's kind of on them. So you really fucked that whole thing up.
No, I think,
In my head.
I think you
Halfway
did
through a
such a
drink,
great
I'm
job
sorry.
though. But you did such a great job though. You allowed me to think about what my life could be in a different way, right? You allowed me to think like, wait a minute, I am competitive. I'll use that, but at the same time, I want to help other people, and I want to do something. And playing basketball on scholarship is not helping anybody, especially Division II basketball
You
that's low
explained that to
profile.
me. You explained that to me as a young kid. You explained that.
And that was the risk reward for me. That was the risk reward for me. Was like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm risky. Yes, it's risky financially, potentially, but at the same time, I know I'll love it. I'll know that we're doing it for the benefit of others. And guess what? If it does work out, the upside is far bigger than if I were to just follow that conventional path.
Totally.
It reminds me to any entrepreneurs following George's story that I looked at him one day, teary-eyed, and said, you are walking away from your dream, from everything you've worked for since you were 3 years old, shooting those hoops. And he looked at me. It was the first time I kind of wanted to hear or look inside your heart. And you said, this is the hardest thing I've ever done, but if I don't do it, Super Coffee will not exist.
Yep.
And at that moment, I thought, I'm going to do what he says.
Yeah.
And that was a big
Jo-
moment.
he said it to me too. Like he said, we had this it wasn't even a business, right? We had an allocation to sell into Whole Foods locally. We had a manufacturer that was
Barely.
45 minutes
yeah.
away, a place to make it.
It was 4 walls.
Yeah,
That's
4
all it was. It
walls.
just existed.
Yeah, and I I was getting ready to go. Jordan was living on the couch, and I was getting ready to go back to senior football season at Georgetown, culmination of my athletic career. And Jordan was going to get ready to go back up to Philly U to play basketball. And he straight up said, like,
So I was
verbatim,
paying no bills. Georgetown was paid. He was free.
Yeah.
He was on his own.
Yeah.
So financially, we were risk-free at that point.
Yeah. And this is like 2 or 3 weeks before, but he said, just that spelled it out. If these things happen, you go back to football, I go back to Philly U, there is no company. There's nothing, there's actually nothing. And that's when it was like, okay, like you are dropping. Okay, you're dropping out.
It was just fucking harder than we thought.
Yeah,
There's
Yeah,
no way.
but which is still crazy though. Like Super Coffee back then was nothing. It was shit. Like what it is today, I could have never imagined in my wildest dreams. Right, 85 full-time employees, 150 part-time employees, products sold all over the country. Like so this level of commitment from Jordan was crazy. I can only imagine what it was in your eyes. Like one thing for like just to set the table even more, taking a step back for the whole company, like or for the whole story here. Jake Jordan and I used to drive to high school in the morning. We'd park the car. Jake and I would walk left to go to Kingston High School, be in our first period, first class on time. Jordan would say, "Peace, guys. I'm going to shoot free throws at the YMCA."
Go right.
He would go right.
Well, I still say Super Coffee was created because George didn't really like school, so he needed a reason to drop out.
That's a big part of it. And I'll also add that the first couple of my classes weren't very fun. So
Well, so how about this? I mean, I know this is about you and Mother's Day, but George, like somebody who dropped out of school, and no offense to you, you weren't a good student ever, right? And he's the first to admit that. He didn't read books in school. However, you read more than anybody I know. So what is it? I mean, why do you do that?
Well, look, again, as competitive athletes, right? Like the same thing with basketball, you kind of got to understand your strengths and weaknesses and where you need to improve. And while we love to play to our strengths, which is everybody should play to your strengths, you will be better off if you understand your weaknesses and work on those as well. So play to your strengths, but at the same time, on your downtime, you better be working on your weaknesses. And from year one, we knew what our weaknesses were because we threw ourselves in the fucking fire.
What is your recipe there on play? I know the answer, but like you,
I am a
95.5. Are you playing to your strengths 95% of the time and sharpening your tools?
Look, I think like strengths they're going to be there. They're going to take care of themselves, right? No matter what. So I think, yes, throughout the day, 75% of the time playing to my strengths, which for me, I am a right-brained, so creative, not really logical, right? That's why I wasn't good in school, but also emotional. And I really enjoyed the idea of creating new products that can help people. So I figured like that's always going to be there. I'm always going to love that. But where I wasn't great was, following directions, management, which is again just being very disciplined with principles, leadership. And I realized early on, like, look, if we're going to build this amazing company, the first step is building a great product, and then you actually have to go out and build a great company to go with that. So I need to learn how to do that. So I need to learn how to lead. I need to learn how to manage. I need to learn how to be a great project manager too. Shit that I would never have learned in school.
Yeah.
So that's where I turned all my attention to, like literally year one. But again, it comes from you. Like still early on, like same thing in the backyard where I was practicing my skills. Like my left hand sucks, so I got to work on my left hand a lot for it to be good. It was the same thing. It was like, look, I need to work on my management skills because as we hire people, obviously the founders are going to be managing the VPs and director level people who have experience. So every night you just looking at books, who are the best leaders I can learn from, who are the best managers I can learn from. And if you focus on those things, those are very general, broad topics. Jim and I, we talk about it a lot too, but like we didn't want to be specialists. Like if I was going to be a specialist, I could go be a director of R&D at like a mid-sized company.
Yeah.
But like we don't want to do that. We want to be managers and lead and work with great people. And I think that it starts with having that competitive spirit, believing in yourself, but then the compassion as well that comes in to really say like, I'm okay with just being a really good leader and not being a specialist in anything.
I love that. All right, back on track here. That was awesome. Honestly, we can wrap up here in the next probably 5-ish minutes with this.
Yeah.
But a lot of awesome milestones along the way, a lot of really cool, proud mom moments. I want to touch on a funny one. We were at Shark Tank, and we were out there in California. Obviously, a stressful situation. We were very fortunate to have you fly out on your own dime and be there with us.
Nowhere on earth I'd rather be.
And it's pretty secretive though. Like they don't give you much insight as a non-quote talent. Like we were going in front of the Sharks. that morning, I remember we got hair and makeup done, and we're sitting in the trailer, and then they call us in, and they're kind of like, okay, like they'll come back whenever they're done. So you and Dad are sitting there. You can't. It's not like you have a live stream hooked up to the trailer. You're just sitting there in silence.
Yeah.
And then you get a knock on the trailer door, and I don't think really anyone knows this, but what happened at that point in time when you got a bang on the trailer door, and what went down?
We were just sitting there, getting to know each other further.
You and Dad, that's what it is.
And, running all the scenarios through our heads, like how long has it been? Are they going to get the deal? Are they not? Knock, knock, knock. Get the parents to makeup. So in the golf cart we go, off to makeup. Still not knowing anything. And I look over, before I know it, I'm looking at my husband getting eyeshadow on. Dad's getting eyeshadow on. And I'm like, what in a million years? And my makeup artist says to me, your one son, I think his name is Jake, had the best skin I've ever seen. I barely need to touch his makeup. That was real. And we're asking them, we're like, why are we getting makeup on? Like, what is happening? They're like, we have no idea. Like, well, that's not our job. We're just doing your makeup. Get us back in the golf cart, rush us off to another studio, and take us in this weird back door. And then for real, they just plop us on this white couch, this big white couch. There's people over there with cameras
On set, you're on a set.
Yeah. And we're talking. And then at one point, Dad's like, I think they can hear us. So finally, after 30 minutes, maybe 20, okay, I exaggerate, maybe 20, it was a long time. They come in and they say, the boys are going to come through that door any minute and act natural. So that was already shot.
We were coming immediately from the pitch. Right?
Yeah.
So you don't know if we got the deal or we didn't.
We don't know if you got the deal or you didn't. They thought they could capture a cool family moment. I think I ruined it.
We blew it.
I ruined it.
It was awkward. It was
horrible.
Like with your parents after Shark Tank.
It was like we had never met each other. We were just actors like, oh, you. So they come in and literally I was like, it was silence. Dad nailed it, thank God, but it clearly wasn't good enough to air, but good job, Jim. I just sat there and I said, so did you guys get a deal?
Yeah, it was weird. And we thought that you were like watching it, so we had no idea.
I'm like, did you? And that was it. So
Yeah.
stressful. I don't like cameras.
Yeah, no worries. I just thought that's a funny story that most people don't know.
Yeah.
But bring it back all the way to accolades and going full circle here is this week, I think that we got the best accolade that we've received, and I think it comes directly from everything we've talked about and the way you race us, but in Inc. magazine 300 Best Workplace in America. Cheers to that. And I want to
Drink your drink.
cheers to that, and I think that attributes to a lot of what we talked about on this podcast and a lot of the way you raised us and a lot of what Jordan talked about, evolution and growing and being leaders, but I don't know if that's what you want to sign that off on or what you got.
No. That's a big shout out to you. But so a lot of these podcasts, our grandmother used to listen to Wayne Dyer, a lot of major like personal motivation people, Tony Robbins, Tim Ferriss, even Joe Rogan goes along that. They usually sign off by saying something like, tell me about your morning routine. And one thing that is totally crazy but inspires me about you, 50 years old, a lot of these sort of textbook answers are, well, I wake up at 6 a.m., I drink my coffee, I journal for a little bit, I get my exercise in, and then I come back and I meditate. You've been doing that for our whole life. You wake up, literally today, 50 years old, you wake up 5 a.m., you make your coffee, you do whatever you got to do in the morning. Sometimes that includes journaling. You literally write down notes, you write poems, you write whatever's on your mind. You go for a run, you run 5 miles every single day, which is crazy. I don't know why you do that.
3.6.
3.6 miles. Don't let me exaggerate. And then you come back, you pray. Prayer and meditation go hand in hand. So my point in all of this is like these sort of cliche podcasts that are out there subscribe or prescribe. They prescribe this your morning. Why do you do that? I mean, you've been doing it for as long as I know. Nobody told you to do it. Talk about your morning routine.
Well, that's it. That's my morning routine. Honestly, that's it. It's been enhanced with K-Cups and organic coffee, so that's awesome.
Super Coffee Pod.
Super Coffee Pod. Sorry.
Sorry, Keurig.
Sorry. But as you were saying that, Jimmy, I would say that positive energy and this whole thing, right, it's not just luck. It's not just even the homemade miracles we talk about, I guess, but I think ultimately you do that because it creates the energy. So it sustains it, it creates it, it grows it. Mm-hmm. And when you're onto something good, you stick with it, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the positive energy, it's not, I wasn't born with it. You guys weren't born with it. You literally create it yourself. Just the same way you create self-confidence and self-love. Yeah, if you have loving, doting parents, you kind of love yourself, but generally speaking, I think we create it. So in those mornings, my time alone is just feeding that and creating it and getting it bigger. And, you know, some mornings I need to do more of it to feel, you know, more of that energy. But that's it.
And it feeds one thing unique for you, and you just nailed it. It feeds your sense of belief, right? Like you have more belief than anyone I know. And something normal happens to you, right? Like you walk outside and birds are singing. A normal person's like, it's Tuesday, birds are singing because it's Tuesday. You are like, the birds were talking to me, they were singing, they were telling me to do it, and it was a special day, and then I went out and this, and that happened after that. So I think that's what having that ritual, routine, belief, it all feeds into creating your own luck, like you said. Hell yeah.
Wow, the birds are there. And they're talking to you and you and you and you. So we just have to show up and listen too.
Show up and listen. I love it.
Show up and listen, baby.
Well,
that's our time.
It
That
is.
is it, Mama. Thank you so much. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Mama, we love you.
Yeah.
We're gonna sign this off. You used to drop us off. You dropped me off at kindergarten. When I was in second grade, Jake was in first grade, Jordan was in kindergarten. You would drop us off every day in our piece of shit minivan, and you would say, "Boys, go kick today's ass." So we love you. Thank you. Go kick today's ass.
Happy Mother's Day.